Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here, and you are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Oh, I love it when I do that. It wakes me up. It inspires me for another video just for you lot. So I went to Twitter this lunchtime after a very refreshing shower, and all these celebs and verifiers were gasbagging on not just the next James Bond being a woman, but a woman of colour. And I'm thinking, of course, this is a load of bollocks. So I went and Googled it, and I found out what was going on. And I thought that you guys deserved an explanation before, you go off on one and start being concerned. Of course, the next James Bond will not be a woman of colour, will never be a woman, it will never be a female, full stop. But we do know that Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the much acclaimed feminist writer, is rewriting James Bond thanks to Daniel Craig. And she's obviously decided to make a point. And so what she's done is, because at the end of Spectre, the last Bond film, Bond quits MI6, right? Or MI5 or whatever it is, right? I think it's MI6 in the fictional world of James Bond. So he quits. So who's replaced him actually is a woman of colour. And she's going to have the 007. Yes, they actually give her the 007. Now, there's part of me is saying, well, this is not a big deal. This is great representation. But the other half of me is this is very passive-aggressive point scoring. So should we give a read to what's going on here? I think it's very, very important when these things kick off and people start talking about a woman of colour being the next James Bond. It's important that I come out via this channel and explain it to you, because people are misinforming you and it's not right. So this is what's going on. What's it got? Right, the black woman who will be the next 007 new James Bond film will feature British actress Lashana Lynch taking over the famous codename, but that doesn't stop legendary agent trying to seduce her, which is quite fit, look at her. Not bad, eh? Wouldn't say no, would you? And I bet she likes to go on top as well. Well, hey! So anyway, right, since Daniel Craig announced he was standing down as James Bond, debate has raised whether the next 007 should be a woman or black. Now, the Mail on Sunday can reveal that she will be both, thanks to the intervention of feminist TV writer Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I bet she loves being called a feminist. I bet it gets her nipples hard, don't it? In what's been called a popcorn dropping moment, British star Lashana Lynch will be given Bond's license to kill in the 25th movie in the franchise currently being shot in Italy and the UK. So basically, because Bond's quit, someone's replaced him, it's a woman of colour, and she's got his 007 number. But the next James Bond will not be a woman or a woman of colour or anything in those terms. It's going to be a man like it's always been. But because of Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she wanted to do some point scoring, she wanted to do some representation, they wanted to trigger some people like they all want to do from these studios now. They decided to go this direction. Basically, I think Bond gets to shag her anyway, so it's all good. However, traditionalists can relax. She's not the new Bond, but a new character who takes over his secret agent number after he leaves MI6. The story begins with Bond retired in Jamaica, but Spy Master M, played by Ralph Fiennes, calls him back in desperation to tackle a new global crisis. What, isn't the new female 007 good enough then, Phoebe Waller-Bridge? A movie insider said there is a pivotal scene at the start of the film where M says, "Come in 007, and in walks Lashana, who is black, beautiful, and a woman. Of course, let's make a point of her colour, of her beauty. We have to make a point of that. It's very, very important. We are now defining people by the colour of their skin and their genders. I think that's pretty racist, don't you? Yes, I do, right? No Greek Cypriot 007, no. No Greek Cypriots, no. Because, let me be controversial here, I think people of colour are quite well represented these days. Don't you, but the rest of us are not. Never mind. Oh my God. Let me just read you something. I've just found something so unrelated. I wanted to be a boy, says Fleabag star Phoebe Waller-Bridge reveals she could have jumped at the chance of becoming a transgender as a 6-year-old girl. dressed like a secret agent, James Bond onesie, and worn by Sean Connery is up for sale. Oh my, what is this about? Why am I even reading this? Sorry about that. Oh my, these people are fucking nuts, aren't they? Anyway. Bond, of course, is sexually attracted to the new female 007 and tries his usual seduction tricks. But if baffled, then they don't work. Of course they don't work. She's a beautiful woman of colour. Why would she want to sleep with James Bond? Another piece of passive-aggressive point scoring by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Basically rolls her eyes at him and has no interest in jumping into his bed. She's so clever. She's so strong. Well, certainly not at the beginning. Oh, here we go. Because after they make their point, of course, he can sleep with her. The source added that the phrase Bond girls is now forbidden, saying we were all told that from now on they are to be addressed as Bond women. Bond girls, 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 Bond girls. Bond girls are sexy. Bond girls are fit. Bond girls are shaggable. I like watching them, watching their form in a bikini. It's wonderful, isn't it? Bond girls, right. Waller-Bridge, who wrote BBC comedy Fleabag, because we won't be allowed to forget that, will we? And the female-led thriller Killing Eve was recruited to ensure the 57-year-old franchise moved with the times. Moved with the times. Moved with the times. Skyfall didn't move with the times? No. Anyway, she said there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Bond is relevant now because of who he is and the way he treats women. I think I've read this to you before, but we'll do it again. I think that's bollocks. I think he's absolutely relevant now. The franchise has just got to grow. It's just got to evolve. And the important thing is that the film treats women properly. He doesn't have to. He needs to be true to his character. Miss Lynch, 31, had a breakthrough role as the fighter pilot Maria Rambo in Captain Marvel. Isn't that ironic? That the woman from the film that was really controversial, well, the film wasn't controversial, it's Star Wars, by the way, by her racism and some of her political points, she's actually going to be in another film now that's going to be really, really controversial. It's, that's all that this article has to say, really. We all knew what was going to happen, didn't we? Once Phoebe Waller-Bridge actually rewrote this film, all of a sudden Daniel Craig goes, do you know what, Purvis Wade and the normal geezers who write this? I've decided you're shit. They are kind of shit, and they have stagnated. They've written too many Bond movies, basically. So what he decided was to get a very successful, talented, feminist writer to come in and rewrite the whole film. Look what's happened. Look what's happened. Am I against a woman of colour being in a Bond movie? No. Women of colour have been in Bond movies before. Am I against a secret agent being a woman of colour? No. It's the way they're going to use her. It's to make passive-aggressive points. Now, as I said at the top of this video, I knew that this was never going to happen. I know Barbara Broccoli. She would never stitch up the character of James Bond. But I can't believe, and I haven't discussed this with her, that she's allowed this to happen. Because, no, again, it's nothing to do with a woman of colour being in the Bond film or even playing a secret agent. It's the way it's being done. That she's got the 007 number. I think that's going to irk quite a few people, don't you think? Because, again, passive-aggressive point scoring, right? That's what it's about. And also, you're using a woman of colour, an actor, to make this passive-aggressive point. You're actually using her for the colour of her skin, which Phoebe Waller-Bridge makes you as racist as anyone who's going to rant and rave about this. I'm not ranting and raving about this. This is a really good actor. I thought she was really good in Captain Marvel. I enjoyed her performance. That's not the issue. The issue is using minorities, using people of colour to make passive-aggressive point-scoring points. And here's the problem now. So, basically, to reiterate what I said at the beginning, no, Bond is not going to be a woman of colour. He's always going to be a man. They'll get another guy to play him. Maybe it will be a gentleman of colour. At the end of the day, if it's a good actor and he looks good as Bond, I ain't got a problem with that. But again, it's the reasons they do these things. And I think there's a lot of good actors out there who could do it, whether they're people of colour, whether they're white. It makes no difference to me. In fact, a person of colour playing Bond doesn't bother me. It doesn't trigger me whatsoever. That's not an issue. But I don't like people used to make passive-aggressive point. And from the moment you decide to get this feminist writer in, all hell's going to break loose, because this is just the beginning. They're going to bring this new woman of colour to be 007, not the 007, but to have the number right. She's going to say several point-scoring things against men, against James Bond, and in the end, it looks like he gets to shag her anyway. So the irony in how these people work, aka the extreme left, right? It's really funny, and their mentality is funny, and they continue to trigger audiences. They continue to destroy franchises. They continue to destroy to destroy what the audience loves, and the audience will walk away and film not just the Bond franchise, but all these franchises are doing this too, will implode. These people continue to make idiots of themselves while we sit here laughing and say, well, you know what? I don't have to watch this. And guess what? You don't.